Gotta have it.
All right, where's the, came down with my man. Came down with Jorge.
Either behind Jorge, not the front, but on the second row,
Okay, behind.
which is not the back of the bus.
Okay, that's okay, man. It's okay. I can sit like that. Never bother me, man.
Thanks, Bob.
Like a ride.
I can't believe.
Day. Who'd you scare off?
I don't know.
It's me. Scare off everyone. Let's wait till Bob's all settled. Oh, yeah. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. This is September 19th, 2025, SANDAG Public Safety Committee. This meeting is called to order. I'd like to ask our interpreter to walk us through how to access our interpretation services for today's meeting. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon. Announcement from interpreter. To use the interpretation feature, please go to the bottom of the Zoom screen where the meeting controls are. Click on the interpretation icon and select English as your language. If you're joining through the Zoom mobile app, cell phone, tablet, etc., please press the ellipsis, then interpretation, and then choose your language. Finally, click on mute original audio to not hear the original Spanish flow in the background. Headsets are available for interpretation. If you're in the meeting room, please check out the headset from the receptionist in the lobby. Buenas tardes. Aviso por parte del intérprete. Para hacer uso del servicio de interpretación, favor desplazarse a la parte inferior de la pantalla de Zoom, donde aparecen los controles. Haga clic en el icono de interpretación, globo terráqueo y seleccione Spanish. Si está utilizando la aplicación móvil de Zoom, celular, tableta, etc., presione los puntos suspensivos, luego interpretación y luego el idioma. Si no de escuchar el audio original en inglés en el fondo, por favor seleccione Mute Original Audio, silenciar audio original. Contamos con auriculares disponibles para el servicio de interpretación. Si se encuentra en la sala de reunión, favor de pedir auriculares con la recepcionista en el vestíbulo. Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the land that we call home. The tribal nations of the San Diego region has historically faced injustice. We acknowledge the harmony that existed between the land, nature, and its original peoples, who have since endured displacement, persecution, and systemic oppression. We pay our respect to the unceded territories and homelands of the 18 tribal nations in our region, the most in any county in the United States, from 4 cultural groups: the Kumeyaay, De Guayno, the Luiseño, Cupino, and the Cahuilla. This land has nourished, healed, protected, and embraced them for many generations in a relationship of balance and harmony. As members of the SANDAG Argus community, we acknowledge this legacy. We aspire to learn from indigenous traditional knowledge, experiences, and undoing the injustices of the past. Now, will you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Please rise. Ready to begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, a nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Thank you. Before we jump into the meeting, I will ask our clerk to confirm that we have a quorum. Francesca.
Thank you, Chair. We do have a quorum this afternoon.
Great. We'll start today with the non-agenda public and member comments. For the non-agenda public speaker information, we'll allow 2 minutes for comments. All other agenda items will have 1 minute for public comment. Francesca, do we have any public speakers on this item?
We have 2 public speakers. We'll start with Story Vogel and then go to phone number ending in 731.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you can hear me. This is a comment from the Association of Planning Groups. My name is Story Vogel. I'm a vice chair of the Pine Valley Planning Group. Ramona and our neighboring communities have suffered a collective trauma. Many families are grieving. Within a 10-day stretch in July, we lost 8 lives on SR 67, all along a 6-mile stretch. 1 life lost is too many. 8 lives lost is unspeakable. Unfortunately, the death toll is continuing to rise with the frequency and severity of the recent accidents on SR 67. Many in the unincorporated communities are alarmed. People in the unincorporated communities that must drive SR 67 report how they are afraid to drive Highway 67, how they don't want their child to start driving on that road, how they hate having to drive 67 to get anywhere, and they're scared of being in an accident. Every few years, we have a string of catastrophic accidents with deaths. then the concern is heard from leadership. But how long will the focus of SANDAG, elected officials, and law enforcement remain on the highway? The answer is temporarily. How long will the suffering be for those families who lost a loved one? The answer is forever. Engineering, education, and enforcement. The application of the 3 E's has not been effective enough, as evidenced by the recent deaths of these 8 people in July. CHP has 1 unit to patrol the territory from Lakeside to Warner Springs. This is woefully inadequate. There will always be bad drivers. Road design must take this into account. To expect the regular driving public to operate on a narrow and curvy 2-way rural road with no physical barrier at high speed and do so flawlessly every time is not realistic. The unincorporated area has every reason to expect and demand that SANDAG prioritize and allocate the funds necessary to ensure the safety of its residents due to unsafe rural highways. The tax money collected for saving lives and entrusted to SANDAG for rural highway safety has gone to other projects over the years. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be the phone number ending in 731. You can go ahead.
Hey there, scary Kevin. It's truth. I concur with the 67 issue that has gone unaddressed for decades. My safety idea for the country, write it into the national as well as state constitutions that doxing of anyone, including by corporations, is illegal and unlawful, punishable by $50,000 fines and 10 years in prison. That's one way we can stop that. Other issues, we need somebody at the federal level to look into why the county is still protecting animal abusers. Multiple stories have now finally broken, particularly one from the UT that took information from public requests I found to expose how the county knew Deborah Barkley and Craig Netwig were not properly caring for the horses for about 4 years straight. And yet they've never faced any charges, not even when they reportedly pointed guns at people and media. But even worse, the DA's long overdue investigation was magically thwarted when a euthanized horse's dead body suddenly disappeared right before officers could perform a necropsy to determine the cause of death. How convenient. Is the DA going to keep stalling on a response? We also have council members in Encinitas introducing fraudulent emergency items without proper noticing. No DA involvement or care again. We have media obsessed with white blonde girls getting stabbed on trains while nobody cares about 15-year-old Chico from Santee who was stabbed to death by his fellow teenagers at the 32nd and Commercial Trolley Stop. I'll never forget in 2023 when MTS's former head of security perception, Al Styler, claimed public transit only requires a perception of safety. Just a few months before he said that nonsense, there were a record 82 assaults, including 1 sexual assault on one of their own ununiformed officers. I demand a public account here at Public Safety by MTS showing what they've done to improve and increase their transit security this year. I also want to see the dangerous bike lanes, roundabouts, and traffic circles in cities like Carlsbad come to an end. There should never be pedestrian crossings near roundabouts where cars don't stop and drivers can't see pedestrians. People like David Zito who waste money on expensive geeky bike gear have no idea about these issues. Thank you.
That concludes the public comments.
Thank you. Next, do we have any non-agenda member comments? This is an opportunity for agency announcements or information to be shared. Yes, Chief.
Chair Shannon, fellow committee members, I have an update from the Chiefs and Sheriffs Management Committee. Earlier this month, the Chiefs and Sheriffs Management Committee convened to discuss several important matters. First, we received updates from ARGIS and held conversations around the needs of our agencies and how ARGIS can continue serving as a regional support resource. We also reviewed the presentation that Dr. Octavio will be sharing with this committee later today. The committee continues to discuss the ongoing cyber data issues. We support ARGIS's active efforts in working with the state to resolve these challenges and ensure accurate reporting for our region. Finally, we received a presentation regarding the 2026 FIFA World Cup being hosted in Los Angeles. The committee discussed potential impacts for San Diego and the importance of early preparation across the public safety agencies. And that concludes my update on the management committee.
Anybody else? No. I have one comment, I guess, to make. So since we're 8 days past now since 9/11, the 24th anniversary of 9/11. And I was at Cal State San Marcos when that took place as a young Marine. I did a stair climb there the week prior, and what I'm coming to realize is that if you're 24 or younger, you weren't born yet. So it kind of makes us the historians of that moment, which is sad because we're not young anymore. But just a reminder for us that our stories for that day was is impactful for our next generation. Okay, I'm gonna hand it off to Mario Orso for the SANDAG update.
Hello, nice seeing all of you. I hope you have a great summer since we haven't seen each other for a while. A couple of updates here. I think first of all, I want to welcome our speakers from Santa Barbara today. I think we have some, or we will have, or maybe we won't. Everybody's still going over. That's in my speaking notes. But I think the most important thing is also highlight that the DMV is discontinuing the Clean Air Vehicle Decal Program on Wednesday, October 1st. So solo drivers in clean air vehicles will lose the free access to HOV lanes. So we really want to encourage those drivers that want to, again, use like the I-15 lanes, the managed lanes, to go and try to get a fast track. That's how you can drive solo on the HOVs, on the I-15, the managed lanes. Some of the updates for criminal justice. The SANDAG's criminal justice teams released 4 publications since we last met. Octavio will be giving a presentation and focus on #1 crime in San Diego region in 2024. And there are a couple of bulletins there, right? So, and I think from an agency-wide perspective, one of our biggest documents as a SANDAG is that we put out the regional plan. The regional plan is that transportation vision in the agency every 4 years gets updated. Without being approved, every single city would not be able to receive transportation dollars, nor the county of San Diego. So that's super critical. That was released, the draft. And now we're in the middle of the draft environmental document, and we're hoping to have an approved regional plan by December. And just finally to remind everybody that Clean Air Day is on Wednesday, October 1st. And, for those who want to do a pledge, please check our webpage. And I know that transit will be free that day. North County and MTS will have free transit on October 1st. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mario. Before we move to the agenda, Tony, do you have any updates from Argus?
Yes, just 2 quick ones. One, we're very excited. We met last time, and our 19th out of 20 people just joined us since we last met. He's going to jump. He's a senior information systems analyst. He's going to be supporting our infrastructure team. And his job is going to be working on cybersecurity, cloud migration, and network support. So we're very happy to be just almost 100% full. The second item is we're looking to the future of Argus. And Argus' mission is to collect and share accurate data in a secure and safe manner. That's what we were created to do in 1976. And that's still our mission, but our mission is expanded well beyond that right now. And we know that technology is advancing at a rapid rate. So we have to continually look to see new technologies, new protocols, what we can do, what we shouldn't be doing, what we need to improve upon for the future, not just for today, but 1 year, 2 years, 5 years to make sure that Argus is sustainable and does what our customers need. To that purpose, we've started meeting with the chiefs and sheriffs. Our last meeting with the chiefs and sheriffs, we talked about how Argus was created. This body, Argus, was created to serve the local law enforcement agencies. That was a start. And now we've expanded to the state, and the federal agencies are also customers of Argus. But the local agencies are the ones that provide the data that we use. Everybody else is a consumer of that. We're meeting with we're doing Caroline's leading focus groups, trying to find out from the folks that we're working with, what is it that you like about Argus? What are you using now? If we could improve on something, what would that be? What is it that you're not using and why? And if you could have anything that would help you in your agencies to investigate, support, count crime, catch criminals, whatever it would be in the enforcement agenda, what would that be? Because Argus's role is to support the regions in doing that. in that area. And our mission has gone from just sharing information. Now we're involved in training, technical support, enterprise purchasing support, data management, reporting, and many, many, many other things we offer to the region. Technical support would include areas like the Live 911 implementation that we helped a couple of agencies do, or supporting other agencies in the real-time crime centers, building them up and how they're going to operate. It could be designing networks for some of the agencies that we have, and the technical support within the networks that we actually do have right now. And I tell the chiefs and sheriffs, we make house calls, and we do. Our technicians will go to the agencies to support them. I thought the Public Safety Committee should know that we do these things. Also, I think one of the best benefits that we have being an ARGIS is the enterprise purchasing that we do, or the collaborative purchasing we do. The entire ARGIS enterprise, what we call our operation, it's all of our servers, our networks, our systems, the applications, everything that we do to install cost about $12 million in 2012. Now, we paid for that with savings that ARGIS had, with fees from the customers, with federal grants, state grants to do that. But for one entity, ARGIS, to invest $12 million to create this network sharing system is much cheaper than it would be for each individual agency to duplicate that and then talk to each other. And one of the things that we do is we buy contracts or services for people. For example, we're in the process of putting in a new product in the very near future, dealing with Be on the Lookout notifications. Well, that would cost each agency about $200,000 a piece if they wanted to use this piece of technology per year. ARGIS is going to purchase that for $200,000 a year and then split the cost with the 19 charter member agencies, which would be much cheaper, much more efficient use of funds so that agencies can use those savings for other things that are going on. We're also looking at putting in a data analytics application. And many agencies are looking at different things. I don't want to mention any vendors' names, but the price for one agency to install one of these data analysis applications is between $400,000 and $1 million a year to bring in this technology per agency. But if ARGIS hosts that, ARGIS would be charged $400,000 to $1 million a year, and we could share that cost with the 19 charter member agencies, or we could share that cost with the 65 users that we have. It would be much more efficient for us to host. But we have to make sure that what ARGIS does is what the agencies need. So in that event, we're going out and meeting with the agencies to find out what are your technology needs now, what are your technology needs in the future, what's your vision, and how can we fulfill that? Because that's what the mission of ARGIS is. And I just wanted to share that with you guys real quick.
Great, thank you. If there's no more member comments, we'll move on to consent. Francesca, are there any public comments on this item?
We do not have any public comments on consent.
Great. Any member comments? All right, if there's no objection, I may entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve consent calendar agenda. I guess it's only one, so consent agenda.
All right, Ms. Molina. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
I think we'll take Mayor Wells. Outrank you. Go ahead and vote. We waiting on. To me. All right, that motion passes. All right. Moving on to item number 4. We're excited to have the team from Z School Online with us to discuss UCSB's course offerings on operational readiness and opioid use disorder training. Floor is yours.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Josh Talmadge. I'm with Z School, and I just want to thank everyone for the opportunity to present today at this vendor session. What we're introducing is a regional solution designed for ARGIS member agencies in preparation for participants and agencies to respond more confidently and effectively to the opioid crisis. This is a university accredited training program in partnership with University of California, Santa Barbara. And it's driven to enhance law enforcement and first responder safety, build strong connections and trust within the community, and to help address the epidemic as a whole systematically. Next slide. So before I get too much into the program, I want to talk a little bit about the crisis or the opioid crisis in California. Fentanyl rates, specifically deaths, have been rising every year since 2018. Imperial County had the highest per capita overdose death rate. And San Diego County had the highest opioid misuse tied to criminal activity and related to officer safety. So, and that all came from the crime data of the overdose dashboard, if anyone wanted to reference those statistics. But next slide. So the next thing I want to talk about is the Opioid Settlement Fund. For those of you who may not be familiar with this, this is a $55+ billion nationally paid out settlement, primarily from pharmaceutical companies and distributors of pharmaceuticals, specifically opioids, that have contributed to this epidemic that we are now forced to deal with. $4 billion has been allocated to the state of California. The way it's dispersed is an 85% goes to local municipalities and counties, where 15% stays with the state. And there are very restricted uses for this settlement fund, which can be found in Exhibit E if you actually went to the opioid settlement. But the window is very narrow for use. Luckily, first responder, law enforcement, correction type training around opioid abatement is an explicitly eligible use of this funding. So with that being said, let's go to the next slide. And let's discuss why this program is applicable. For starters, it's a 4-hour program. It's 100% online, self-paced, so participants can start and stop when necessary. It consists of 4 one-hour modules, and participants have access to the course for up to a year. It comes with a plethora of resources, handbooks, guides, field tools, tons of things that can be utilized to help combat this epidemic. Also, the course allows CEU credits for the participants. And while we offer this operational readiness program, we do have specific programs designed for law enforcement, first responders, and corrections. So the content of the courses is all congruent, but it may have some nuances that change based on the specific role of the individual participant. The primary focus is verbal and nonverbal de-escalation techniques, crisis intervention and harm reduction tactics, community and referral systems, and obviously ADA compliance and risk management. So next slide, please. So some of the key takeaways, like I just mentioned, de-escalation and crisis response skills, very critical when responding to opioid-related calls, especially when you're responding with mental health issues as well. So the program covers both the substance issue and the potential co-occurring mental health conditions that often come with the situations they're responding to. And the program is designed to increase safety, confidence, and reduce stress in these types of situations. It also enhances community collaboration and cross-departmental collaboration and resource utilization, which usually leads to a higher enhanced community trust and legal awareness and a better management of risk when dealing with these situations. Next slide. So some things that we've had feedback on with the program is participants really enjoy the de-escalation techniques that we teach, the verbal and nonverbal skills. They find it to be very well balanced. They think it's something that every officer should take. And trust me, I understand that these are reviews that we could have put anything on. But if you look at the box at the bottom of the screen, you'll notice a satisfaction score of 93%. That means of all the people that have already participated in this program, 93% gave either a very good or excellent review of the program. Now, the graph next to it with NPS or Net Promoter Score categorized us as world-class training, which was anything that was 80 or above in their scores, and we scored at an 83. So this is not only the opinions of these three individuals that you can see, this is across the board being very well receptive, is seen as valuable training in addition to what is already being taught. So that kind of shows you the validity and the impact that this program can truly have. Next slide. So what would be the process for implementation if this was something that people wanted to dive into within ARGIS? One, very simple. Agencies provide a roster of students. So simply first name, last name, email address. Participants get a unique login to register. They complete. That's a typo. It's not 4 4-hour modules. It's actually 4 1-hour modules. That's a typo. I apologize. And then upon completion, they receive a certificate of completion from the University of California, Santa Barbara, and a completion report is delivered to the agency that signed up. These completion reports can be, they don't have to be once everyone has completed. They can be scaled to see where everyone is if it's a very large agency. So reports can be provided at any time. And this whole program is fully funded by the Opioid Settlement Fund that I mentioned earlier. So next slide. So what are we looking to talk about today is simply we want to partner with you. We want to get your teams enrolled in our program. We want to expand regionally to enhance cross-collaboration amongst different agencies and departments, and ultimately strengthen safety, trust, and readiness to respond to this crisis that seems to be growing and becoming a bigger problem. So ultimately, our goal is to help prepare and properly educate people to respond effectively and efficiently when dealing with opioid use disorder or co-occurring mental health conditions. I would like to now offer open questions.
Thank you for the presentation. First, Francesca, are there any public comments on this item?
Thank you, Chair. We do have one public comment. Truth, you can go ahead. Truth, I can see you're unmuted, but we can't hear you if you are speaking.
Oh, there we go. I got
There we
it.
go.
I had myself muted, sorry. So asynchronous, thanks for a new word used in a sentence. SANDAG often approves delusional, contradictory, and asynchronous plans. Opioid misuse, I ask, is there a good use? Is that why there are settlements that every city and county signed on to, or do they all just want free checks to cash? If doctors and hospitals are really to blame, why haven't they faced punishment? Why not sue them? Why allow the medical industrial complex to continue? The harm reduction programs do nothing but enable more addiction. What else are the addicts going to do with foil needles and pipes? Reduce stress for officers. What about for the public? Where are the multi-$1,000 massage chairs at meetings? The same thing applies to de-escalation. It's a tactic that is not taught to children or adults. It seems like a lot of people could use it these days, even people that are unfortunately in government, like Shawnee Rivera, who once threatened the public at a May 24th, 2024 SANDAG meeting, as well as threatening businesses at a recent council meeting. And the same for officers. Don't yell at people unnecessarily. Don't draw a weapon unnecessarily. Say hello and thanks. Simple manners are a climate changer. This course available to law enforcement.
Thank you. Your time has expired. That concludes the public comments.
Thank you. Are there any member comments or questions?
I have a question. I'm sorry if I missed it, but is this class post-certified?
Yes, it is post-certified.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you very much for your presentation. We're going to move on to item number 5. Item number 5 will be presented by Dr. Octavio Rodriguez. Dr. Rodriguez will present the crime in the San Diego region through 2024 bulletin.
Thank you very much, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Octavio Rodriguez. I'm the principal researcher of the Criminal Justice Division here at SANDAG, and I'm going to present findings, results from our 2024 Crime in San Diego Region Bulletin. One first mention, this is the 45th report that we put together. SANDAG started this process with its publication in 1981. The first crime in the San Diego region analysis. And so our 2024 report is the 45th. So it is important to acknowledge all the work that has been done in the region to keep track and to have this information available. Sometimes this information is not available at the state or national level, but we keep track of it. And we were able to continue tracking this information for 43 years using the same methodology, the UCR methodology. And for the past 3 years, of course, as members of this committee know, we have transited to or changed a new methodology that I'm going to be explaining in a bit. We have talked about this in previous sessions, but I think it's important for us to keep reminding us and the public of the big change that happened when the new cyber system, the National Incident-Based Reporting System, and its California counterpart, the cyber system, they became the national standard starting in 2021. And we started producing our reports based on this new methodology in 2023. So this is our second yearly report under this new methodology. Just a quick review of what the differences are. The UCR reporting system was composed of what we traditionally know as violent crime, property crime, and others. This new system is organized in a different way. It includes 2 groups. I'm going to be explaining that in a bit. But some of the important differences rely on the way the data is compiled and the data is reported. So for example, under the previous methodology of UCR, only the most serious charge was able to be reported, and now we can capture up to 10 charges. Also, the cyber system is completely or is continuously updated. So we have updated information almost in real time, as opposed to UCR when it was only periodically updated. Another important feature of this new system is that we have now weapon-related information for all crimes, whereas in the past, the information that we had on weapons was limited to just a handful of crimes. And the way the new system is divided, as I mentioned, is on the one hand, we have the Group A crimes, which include crimes against persons that are tracked in a way that one victim or each victim become a count for that specific crime. Then we have crimes against property, where we have one incident becomes one count. And finally, we have crimes against society, a category that was not previously reported, now bringing a group of crimes that are counted as one offense per crime. And we're going to go into a little more detail on this in a bit. But so this is the important part of the presentation. In last year, 2024, we had 127,206 crimes in the San Diego region. That is a 5% decrease from 2023. And as we can see, the majority of the crimes, a little more than half, are crimes against property, followed by crimes against persons. Looking at the change change in time, we see that looking at categories, both crimes against persons and crimes against property decreased from previous year, from 2023, and we have seen a slight decrease over time, as we can see here with a comparison in 2021. The only category that increased from previous year, from 2023, was crimes against society. Now, looking at each category specifically, we see that the most common type of crime against person is assault. We have 85% of assaults, either simple or aggravated assault during the past year, and followed by intimidation, sexual offenses, and kidnapping and abductions. When we look at this category more in depth, we can see that we had decreases in a number of categories. The most frequently reported crime is either simple or aggravated assault. Both declined. We unfortunately had increase in incidents of kidnapping, abductions, intimidations, murders. For example, in kidnappings, which involves the unlawful seizure, transportation, or detention of a person against their will, we saw an 18% increase. We looked a little deeper into this category, and we found that the majority of the victims in this crime, half of them were Hispanic, majority female, 83%, and around 90% of them were adults, so 18 years and older. Also, we unfortunately saw 3 more homicides in 2024 than in 2023. We wanted to know a little more, so we did a little further analysis of this. We were able to get information of victim and suspect relationship in 61 cases. And on those occasions, over half, the assailant was a stranger to the victim. There was no apparent relation. There was no relationship or link between them. We were able to identify weapons in 78 cases, and we found that nearly half involved a firearm, 49%. And another important aspect that we found is that in victims 18 years old to 24, they were more likely to be murdered by a firearm in comparison with other population groups. Looking at the category of crimes against property, we see that the most common crime against property are larcenies, followed by destruction of property and motor vehicle theft. These three crimes make 75% of the whole category. Looking at the crimes specifically, we can see that all crimes in the crimes against property declined, with the exception of arson. Those declines range between 4% for robberies to 24% for extortion. And the most frequent category, which is larcenies, decreased 8%. And within larcenies, there are multiple subtypes. Most of them declined. There are some exceptions. Shoplifting, for example, was one of the exceptions. We saw shopliftings compose 22% of larcenies, and we saw a 24% increase from last year. And then looking for crimes against society, we can see the majority of those crimes are drug related. So drug narcotic violations and drug equipment are around 88% of this category. Both saw increases, as we can see here, and also prostitution, so a slight increase of 8% from the previous year. So there's this other group of offenses, the group B. They tend to be less serious, and they're only reported if an arrest is made. In this group, we saw a 5% increase from 2023 and a 17% increase from 2021. The most common single offense in this group is disorderly conduct. And we have a group of other crimes that are just categorized as all other. And these are general applicability offenses such as aiding and abetting, assault to commit, conspiracy to commit, facilitation of, and so forth. For a number of years now, we have been compiling hate crimes with the support of local law enforcement agencies. This is not specifically a crime, but a category that is added to a crime. And for a number of years in our report, we have been sharing this information publicly. Just to remember, it's important to know the definition of a hate crime, that are offenses that are motivated by biases against race, religion, disability, sexual orientation, ethnicity, gender, or gender identity. This past year, we saw 133 hate crime events in the region, the same number as in 2023. Although it represents an increase of 64% from 2021, which is not shown here in the slide. But also we saw that victims and suspect number of victims and suspect increased for the second year. We had 175 victims, 24 more than last year, and 138 suspects, 27 more than last year. Look at the biases and motivations for this past year data. We can see that nearly half of hate crimes that were reported were motivated by race and ethnicity. This is a slight increase from the previous year, 2023, but it represents a decrease from 2021. It's followed by over 1/3 of offenses that are motivated by sexual orientation. This bias continues to grow over the past years, and almost 1 in 5 was motivated by religion, and this represents a 6% decrease from last year. So just a quick highlight, or just some quick highlights. Important to remember, crime decreased 5% from 2023 and 13% total from 2021. More than half of crimes were crimes against property. Only crimes against society increased from last year, 6% increase, and race and ethnicity continues to be a main motive for hate crimes in the region. Thank you very much, Chair. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Francesca, are there any public comments on this item?
Thank you, Chair. We do have one public comment. Truth, you can go ahead.
45 years of crime reporting, but 2024 is the year the numbers in California have been fraudulently fudged. We need solutions. Arrest the corrupt politicians and introduce harsher and timely punishments for convicted criminals. And where does human trafficking fall as far as crimes against persons? What does intimidation even mean? The data is also skewed by showing data only from 2021. We all know the media lied about the entire George Floyd incident as an excuse to defund and demoralize the police. Those bad political policies made crime skyrocket in 2020, not to mention Biden's open door for criminals policies. Without data from 2019 and before, the true crime picture is even more inaccurate. And the 49% of murders involving firearms, does that mean California's anti-Second Amendment policies are failing miserably? I want to hear law enforcement testimony, see if these new numbers match what they're actually seeing on a daily basis, because I know it's not. For example, 52% of suspects are strangers to their victims. That's not true. 99% of victims have at least met their perpetrator. That's a known fact. It's helped solve many crimes. How many more seconds do I got? Felt like 1 minute, the other item. You know what? I'm just going to stop. I don't know if you guys actually care. I don't think SANDAG actually cares.
Thank you. Your time has expired. That concludes the public comments.
Thank you very much. Are there any member comments?
Doctor, thanks very much for your presentation. I just have one question. Will you be quantifying at the end of 2025 the increases of theft and drug offenses that are related to Prop 36?
We can look into that. That's a really interesting question. We haven't discussed it, but I think it would be a good opportunity for us to start paying attention to that, certainly.
We're definitely seeing about a 6.8% increase in our bookings into our jail that are Prop 36 offenses. So it's about 2,800 so far. So we know with more arrests, we expect that the crime rates for those crimes will go up. So it'd be useful to know if we can separate that out from the other data.
That is a great suggestion, and certainly we're going to do that, and we're going to make sure to feature that. in
Great,
our
thanks
next
so much.
report. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Hi. On the increase in crimes against people for religious reasons, did that have much to do with anti-Semitism?
In the past, we've seen that the conflict, contextually, we've seen increased in biases that are anti-Muslim or anti-Jewish as well. So a big component of those crimes that are faith-related do fall within an anti-Jewish or anti-Muslim.
Do you have statistics broken down by those categories?
We have some statistics about it. I don't have it handy, but I'm happy to share with you later.
Thank you.
Yeah, certainly.
I believe in the last report that we had at the city of San Diego, it appears that the highest category is still under race and ethnicity. And I believe African Americans are still at the are at the high. I've asked this question of San Diego PD. Do we have locations on where those hate crimes are happening? So we can determine, are they concentrated in different areas or where these hotspots are and what's taking place? Is that possible?
We do have locations that we can provide. Right, we can have it by the the block address. Thank you very much. We can access that information and have that for you, and I will make a note just to share that information.
Thank you. I'd appreciate that.
It's almost like a heat map, right? Is that what you're looking for? Okay. Any other member questions or comments? I just have a few myself, if no one else does. Slide 7, if you could pop that up real quick. Did we skip 2022 for a reason?
So the way we do our reporting, we do a 1-year comparison and then a 5-year comparison. Since we don't have the 5-year data just yet, that's going to happen until next year. We're showing a 1-year and a 4-year comparison.
Got it. So next year we'll still see 2021, and then from then on it'll be 5 years.
And we're going to be moving in that direction in the 1-year and 5-year comparison. But we do have the full set of data by year accessible in our open data portal.
Gotcha. Intentional gap. Okay. And then slide 15, it shows increases of certain crimes, and it looks like it was from the group B offenses. Did we kind of quantify why we're having such a sequential increase?
Probably I wouldn't be the best person to know this, but one of the different things that we have seen is reporting has been taking up, and that could be one of the explanations. But I probably would defer to our law enforcement partners to delve with a little more into why we're seeing that.
And maybe even ask the members, have you guys noticed, is this a documentation thing that's been more thorough? Is that why you guys have noticed that the statistics lay there in your communities, or if anyone wants to field it?
I guess I missed the first part. What's the crime type that you're curious about?
I'm just wondering, with the increase that I'm seeing, have there been justifications why Octavio was kind of saying that maybe documentation and just the fact that we're documenting it shows the increase?
It could just be more proactivity too, as the officers and deputies are out of COVID now, and everything's kind of upticking a little bit.
COVID, I'm trying to forget. Okay.
Yeah, and Vice Chair, if you don't mind me, the important thing to remember about Group B offenses is that they are recorded by the arrest. So only if an arrest is made is this type of crimes are recorded or reported. So we also have to make that or take that into consideration. And of course, the context of COVID really had to do a lot with it.
Thank you. And then probably last is, and maybe again, kind of leaning towards the agencies as well. Do we do correlations where when I'm seeing statistics, I love statistics. So when I'm seeing statistics, do we ever overlay this with like the number of officers that we have? I know the ratio that we have in per county in most agencies are lower than what we want. And then so if we're looking at like say these group B offenses, are there different correlations? Sometimes when I look at this, is this because we don't have enough patrol and then all of a sudden we need enough patrol to be able to kind of handle this? Or was it just the fact that we're, you know, over documenting and making sure that we're responding on incidents? I just always want to make sure that if we have the statistic, you know, where's the correlation behind it? And then what's our solve to be able to reduce crime?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting idea. You know, we are increasing our numbers. More people are getting through academies, but we still are short-staffed in like the larger jurisdictions, myself and San Diego Police Department. So we are also increasing proactivity around homelessness. And there are more bookings. Bookings are going up. So I think officers are making more arrests. So I think there's a lot of things that are happening. It'd be interesting to see this year over year, like 25, 24, 25, and see if it's a continuing trend or if it levels out.
Yeah, you know, there's like, what are the Mark Twain says a little funny quote about statistics. And so to correlate them appropriately is great, but then I also don't want us to use them for like, you know, as a weapon almost, right? We're saying, oh, we're seeing this increase in crime. And then we try to correlate it to something that's not true. And I get nervous that, that we just kind of weaponize anything that we can in order to say that crime's going up or down.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that crime in the region is necessarily going up. I think there's more proactivity, more proactive police work because of increased staffing and a lot of those things. I know the DA's office is probably doing more filings than they've done in the most recent years. City attorney, I think, is starting to increase their prosecution. So it's probably more of a shift in law enforcement than crime rates going up would be my speculation, but we should look at that.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you all. Any other questions or comments? Yep.
Thank you. If we can go back to slide number 5, I have a couple of questions about some of the details here.
Yep.
Yes, thank you. So I'm not understanding the numbers in parentheses. So crimes against persons and then parentheses 15, then the next box parentheses 25 and then 12. What is that?
Yes. So, and sorry, I should have explained that better. So each category of crime against persons, against property, and against society contain a certain number of crimes, individual number of crimes. So for example, crimes against persons have 15 crimes within types of crime like homicide, rape and others, and the same goes to crimes against property. They are not shown here in my presentation because for obvious reasons from space, but also for due to some of the like lower numbers of certain crimes that are not enough for a statistical significance.
Okay, thank you. So that is clear. And then on the circle, the 8 offenses and then 1 offense per arrest. I don't understand 8 offenses. I don't get that.
So the same thing, because these are not or we refer as offenses or crimes. These are counted. For example, we have DUIs. We have like vagrancy and others. There are 8 different type of offenses.
So it's like the 8 would also be in parentheses.
That is correct. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for pointing that out.
Any other comments? All right, moving on to our last item of the day is item number 6. This item is presented by Dr. Ray. Director Ray. He's gonna go over the legislation for Senate Bill 54 and how it relates to ARGIS.
Good afternoon, Public Safety Committee. It's nice to see you from the other side of the room. To start with, Senate Bill 54, which was voted upon in 2018, became effective in 2018. Voted upon in 2017, became effective in 2018. It limits state and local law enforcement assistance in immigration enforcement in the state of California. That's the basic overview of what is happening. What I'm going to do is provide you a presentation on what ARGIS has done to be in compliance with Senate Bill 54 at that time. In terms of background, as I told you earlier, ARGIS was created in 1976 by the Regional Chiefs and Sheriffs Association to enhance data sharing among agencies. ARGIS is a criminal justice information sharing hub. We allow agencies to work efficiently by getting data to everybody and not just what the individual agency has. And we try to facilitate interagency cooperation. ARGIS serves over 5,000 customers. We have over 60 law enforcement, state, federal, and local agencies, and we share information through a number of different applications. We're also not regulated, but overseen by the San Diego County Sheriff's Department's CLETS coordinator for the region. The Sheriff's Department operates as a CLETS coordinator for all the law enforcement agencies in the San Diego region, in that area. In terms of SB 54, also known as the California Values Act, it became active on January 1st, 2018. It amended the California Government Code, it amended the Health and Safety Code, and it impacted all local law enforcement and state law enforcement agencies in the criminal justice information system by limiting state and local law enforcement's ability to assist in immigration enforcement. Basically, local and state law enforcement agencies are prohibited from participating in immigration enforcement with a very few exceptions. Under certain provisions of SB 54, the specific protocols, exceptions can be made, and those exceptions would be if an offender violated certain crimes like rape, robbery, or homicide. There are exceptions for them to be involved in the immigration process. On October 1st, 2018, the state of California created an information bulletin. I have it right here. This is attachment 1, and your information is online for the people that are looking right now if they'd like to find it. And that information bulletin created guidelines on how agencies would deal with databases. ARGIS, of course, deals with many databases, so we fall in line with that area right there. In 2019, the California Justice Information System, or CJIS, released an updated manual for policies and procedures and practices for CLETS use. And the manual outlines the requirements for audits, access, and security. That item is also attachment number 2 online for this presentation. For the people that are looking for that, just go to SANDAG if you're online, search SANDAG, go to meetings, go to the Public Safety Committee, and it'll be attached in the information for this meeting right here. In 2023, CJIS released an update for the policies, procedures, and practices for the CLETS update. And those changes in 2023 did not affect ARGIS's operation. They did affect the implementation of tribal involvement. It talked about training, security breaches, and background checks, but it did not affect any of the protocols that we have in place right now. Then based on guidance from the California Attorney General's Office and in cooperation with San Diego County Sheriff's Department's CLETS coordinator, ARGIS took the following steps to implement changes, or these are the things that we did to become in compliance with SB 54. The first thing we did was remove all immigration records from our database. Before SB 54 came into compliance, we had a direct connect with ICE. They were one of the agencies we worked with. We had to connect to their system, they had to connect to our system. We severed that system completely, so there's no longer any direct connection between their servers and our servers. They can't get our information. Well, ICE ERO, the Enforcement Removal Office, does not have access. And there's no records. The terms immigration, anything related to immigration was removed from our system. So before SB 54, you could search for certain types of crimes or activities. After SB 54, no officer can get into our system, no officer agent from any agency can find anything related to illegal immigrant, illegal immigration. There are no terms, there are no laws, there are no codes, no state, local, federal codes. There's nothing in our system that people can search in to find anything related to immigration, and that complies with SB 54. We also added the reason for search language. Every database system that we have, every database system now after SB 54 requires a reason on why are you using ARGIS. And the reason will be investigation, or it could be a case number. It could be a homicide investigation, robbery investigation. It could be EC 951257. It would be a case number for something that has to be put in. So if there's an audit down the road, people can find out why the individual that accessed Argus was accessing Argus and what they said in their area. Also, the login screen changed. Argus added the California Department of Justice recommended acknowledgement language to the criminal misuse warnings on every application. So what you see out there, this is what the state of California recommended we put on our login, and this is what everybody sees when they access our screen. And it says, a federal, state, or local law enforcement agencies shall not use any non-criminal history information contained within this database for immigration enforcement purposes. This restriction does not pertain to any information that is regarding a person's immigration or citizenship status. So everybody sees the state's recommended language. And again, we put that into being compliance with SB 54. And then we updated our training. Every training class that we have, whether it's in person, whether it's online, through a Zoom meeting or Teams meeting, every part of our training announces that you're not allowed to use this system for immigration purposes. Because we have to follow SB 54, the rules, so that we can stay certified to be an entity. If we're found to be in violation of the entity, we risk the ability of Argus no longer being an entity and the regional agencies losing the connectivity that they have with us right now, that they have with us at this time. I would like to add, very short, I would like to add, we received questions before this presentation. I want to let people know that Argus does not operate an LPR program of any kind. Right now we did, but that stopped in 2022. Argus right now does not operate a facial recognition program. So there's nobody that can log on to Argus right now to access any LPR or facial recognition information. I wanted to read a couple of notes that I have here. Under existing law, the California Values Act generally prohibits California law enforcement agencies from using money or personnel to investigate, interrogate, detect, or arrest persons for immigration enforcement purposes, including providing personal information for that purpose. So we took all the steps that we did earlier to include language, eliminate access to agencies so that we can stay in compliance with that section that we have right there. Specific to immigration and customs enforcement, ICE. ICE's access to the Argus database, the California Department of Justice guidance from October 2018 provided that federal immigration authorities should not be denied access to law enforcement databases solely based on their status as a federal immigration authority. And this is important because ICE had, before SB 54, ICE had two customers with Argus. There was ICE HSI, Homeland Security Investigations, and ICE ERO, the Enforcement Removal Office. ICE ERO refused to agree with the state's SB 54 guidance, so we denied them access. ICE HSI did agree, just like all the other agencies do, so they have ICE access. ICE HSI also investigates human smuggling, human trafficking, narcotics trafficking, firearms trafficking, rape, robbery, homicide if it occurs within the area that they have. They also investigate crimes that are not immigration, so they're allowed to have that. They agreed to comply. So the one section of ICE has access, the Border Patrol has access, the DEA has access, the FBI has access. We have 65 total customers. Actually, we have 64 because the State Department is no longer a customer. They pulled out here. So we have 64 customers. All of them have agreed to abide by the state's SB 54. And our job is to find out what the rules are, operate within the rules so we can serve our customers. And at this point, be happy to answer any questions that anybody has regarding this topic.
Thank you. First, Francesca, are there any public comments on the side?
Thank you, Chair. We do have one public comment. Truth, you can go ahead.
If you remove the political treasonous judges out of the picture, the value list, SB 54 is unconstitutional. The removal of immigration-related records with felonies out of the Argus system is directly impeding law enforcement at all levels and is in itself a federal crime. The assaulted children at Little Hands Academy under new scum Dr. Fran Dulcevia Gomez and her illegal pedophile partner, Ezekiel Cruz Rodriguez. Buena Fuquets are reportedly operating concentration camps with illegals working 13-hour days with no breaks and at slave wages. And even new scum collecting a $10,000 check from pot farms with illegals are all the direct result of city and county government, Argus and SANDAG not complying with federal law enforcement. SB 54 applies to the immigrant community, of which illegals are not even part of. 8 U.S.C. Section 1373 says that nothing prohibits or restricts law enforcement from sending or receiving information regarding a person's immigration or citizenship status to or from federal immigration enforcement. The login screen pop-up says law enforcement shall not use any non-criminal history information. Entering the country illegally is a crime. SB 54 was a political theater statement against Trump's Executive Order 13768.
Thank you. Your
Bad
time has
political policies
expired.
have real-life
That concludes the public comments.
Great, thank you. Are there any other member comments?
I just got a question. Yep, I just have a quick question. On slide 5, where you have the login screen language that was updated, can you, I guess, add some clarity? I don't think I'm understanding. You have your first sentence, but the second sentence is this restriction does not pertain to any information that is regarding the person's immigration or citizenship status.
Thank you for asking that question. The second portion there is focused solely on communicating with the Immigration and Nationalization Service, INS. And this is where not ARGIS, but where agencies will report. If agencies are going to talk to INS, that's where that last sentence applies to. It's nothing to do with enforcement locally, but INS will contact certain government agencies to verify different things, and that's what that last sentence is for.
Any other comments or questions? I just have a few. I did tee up this this agenda item. First and foremost, I'm a knucklehead jarhead, first and foremost. And so I need clarification. I think we all know that as elected officials right now, we're receiving a lot of questions and we need a lot of clarification to kind of head back to our constituents and let them know between truth, items that are misinformation, and then just the tension, tone, and tenor of what's going on right now. For me, it's like every time I am working with anyone in law enforcement, I just have to ask certain questions. So sometimes these answers are tough to answer, and sometimes it's tough to even ask the questions. But I do need to do that. So please help me to clarify a few things. First of all, SB 54 prior to SB 54, the information was free flowing between like federal, state, and across the board.
Yes, the access was possible there. I can tell you that not all agencies participated. I know that I believe with the Sheriff's Department in 2010, I believe it was, the sheriff said we're not going to participate in immigration long before SB 4 came out. But it was lawfully possible to exchange the information at that time.
And then could there ever be a situation where federally they're going to start stating that SB 54 is not compliant and that we would have to be able to do this? Or do we hold enough weight within the state to be able to?
I'm not an attorney, but California is a very large state.
Yeah.
And I believe that the federal government will probably try to say that if they haven't already said that. But ARGIS is a joint powers agency, a JPA, a state certified agency. We have to follow the state laws. I can't pick and choose state on this one and feds on that one. I'm assuming that the state will try to do that, but we will continue to follow the state law until the state changes the state law.
I got you. Okay. And then certain questions about like documentation. So, and this kind of gets a little bit pulled back just from ARGIS, but if something happened on scene where it was, let's say, an attempt to detain and a crime was taking place within that, locally right now with SB 54, local agencies can be asked by ICE or Border Patrol to create perimeters and establish control of like crowd control. Is that correct?
So I've been out of the law enforcement business for like 2 years and 8 months.
Yeah.
Maybe the chiefs can answer, but my understanding is immigration people will be doing their thing. And if there becomes civil unrest, they can ask a local law enforcement to help them with the civil unrest, but not with participation in the, well, they can ask whatever they want to, but the locals are not going to engage in the immigration because it's against the law. But they can certainly deal with the crowd control or the riot or whatever may come out in that area. The chiefs may be able to answer beyond that.
I would concur with what Mr. Ray said. We don't get involved in immigration enforcement, but if the situation arises where we need to respond to basically ensure public safety, we will do that.
So if you're ensuring public safety and then all of a sudden an incident takes place, let's say someone goes and there's an assault, or let's say just whatever, you're noticing that there's something to be documented. When you document, then do you document into ARGIS as an incident?
Well, if a crime's committed and a police officer witnesses that crime, we'll make an arrest if it's a violation of state law. And yes, that does get documented.
Okay.
The Argus.
Here's the one that puzzles me. So if it's as a local agency, let's just say, since no one here is in the rooms like CHP, we notice a CHP officer do something legal and you're on scene as a local agency. What do you typically do? Do you have authority to then like state that something is a crime?
Could you restate?
Yeah,
that?
sure. CHP, and I'm not saying this would happen, but let's just CHP officer pistol whips a person, shouldn't be doing it. You're there also on scene and you're noticing it happen. What do? Do you say because it's the state, then I'm not going to deal with it? Or you're going to say this is a crime even though it's a higher jurisdiction law enforcement and I now have to do something and document and what have you?
I would say that CHP is not a higher jurisdiction. We're the same level of jurisdiction, and all police officers have a duty to intervene if they see another police officer using excessive force, committing a crime. And my expectation would be that our officers intervene and stop that officer from continuing that crime. And then we would be in talks with that agency's leadership as to how to handle them, whether it's a physical arrest or a case that's taken and an arrest that's made later.
Does that include if you notice and witness a wrongful arrest? I know it's a tough question, but you know what I'm saying? You know where I'm going with this? Like, so if you notice if you're showing up there, and I say this because I'm from LA, and there's been 2 cases so far that I've seen, and then I've also had conversations with both United States citizens. One's a U.S. Army vet, right? And then they were detained and held. And if local law enforcement was there to protect the crowd control, but noticed something was taking place that was illegal, or noticing that there's no reason for arrest and it happens, what do we do as local law enforcement? And then how do we document it into ARGIS?
That's a complex question.
And we're in a complex
Yeah,
scenario right now.
Officers kind of show up on a scene to assist another agency. They don't necessarily have the full picture. They're trusting that what that agency is doing is lawful and correct. But if something is noticed, we can initiate an investigation and do a fact-finding mission to determine what the entirety of the situation is. And if a crime was committed, then action will be taken like any other citizen. If you're referring to somebody with immigration status, we don't get involved in immigration enforcement, and therefore we would leave that up to the federal agencies.
Yeah, so it's like one of the scenarios that took place. I'm just going up with LA. So a lady, US citizen, goes up to LAPD as she's trying to get apprehended by ICE and saying, I'm a US citizen. Like, what's going on here? And gets arrested. No files or charges against her. But what do we do in this scenario? So for me, I'm trying to protect our local law enforcement agencies. If whatever's happening through the tumultuous sides of what's happening federally, right? Things are happening federally. I can't grasp what's happening every single day. And I can't have a law enforcement officer clarify it enough to me that's at the local level. So then my job personally is to protect our local law enforcement agencies from whatever needs to be clarified above. So as that's taking place, if scenarios like this take place, federal law enforcement asks you to protect the perimeter, and you go, great, okay, that's part of our job. You show up and you do the perimeter, and then you're noticing that things are taking place and it doesn't seem right. What do we do as agencies? Like, I'm here to represent and protect and get public trust for our local law enforcement agencies, right? That's my job, to be a partner with you guys and say that I'm held responsible just as much as you guys are. But these little scenarios are not making sense to me, and I just need clarification so that I can go back to our constituents and say, hey, at least here where we're at, this is what we're doing, and I can go to bed at night.
Yeah, I can think of a couple scenarios that happened recently, one in particular in San Diego, when San Diego police officers responded to assist in the public safety matter of actions caused by, or situation caused by the actions of federal law enforcement, immigration enforcement. And I'll say this, when you show up to those scenes, you don't have the full picture. So it's probably pretty rare that you can pull up and say, this is illegal, that's illegal, what they're doing is not right. I think that we give the federal agencies the benefit of the doubt that they are doing the right thing. And then if there's concerns after watching things for a while, we can have our leadership talk to their leadership to try to get the full picture. And then, and if it's determined that further investigation is needed, we can launch an investigation on the matter after the fact.
Gotcha.
But when we respond to those things, first and foremost, our responsibility is to ensure the safety of the public and also to ensure the safety of those federal agents. Even though we're not involved in federal immigration enforcement, we're making sure that citizens aren't throwing rocks and bottles at the federal officers to protect their lives as well.
I totally get it. I totally get how, this is also another thing that I just remember being an old jarhead is that policies get set out. If it's difficult to interpret, then it's up to me as boots on the ground to try to interpret that policy. And when those policies become too convoluted, then you pose so much risk for that poor officer, whether it's local or federal. They show up and they have to make the judgment calls, just like I did as a fire captain. And I go, okay, this is the gray area. Now I have to figure this one out. And it doesn't make sense, some of it. And so I as much clarity as I can be received is what I can be able to provide to our constituents, to the public. It doesn't take much to lose public trust from law enforcement agencies, and we all know that. And I'm chopping wood every day to try to say how great our Carlsbad police officers are and how great your officers are. And it just takes that one little branch to be snapped to all of a sudden lose it. And then I have to go around. And so that's what I'm trying to protect here right now. And so, like I said, if federally things are getting shifted, I just want to make sure that we have an opportunity to document things that we're like, this is making my head scratch a little bit. And I recall doing it in the Corps, and I recall doing it as a defense contractor. If I didn't notice it, I just document it real quick and just make sure so that when the dust settles and we get a look back on history, we can say, I reported something. I just wanted to make sure that this was, that this was up on the level. Because what I don't want to have happen is to have something take place, let's say like that poor vet, right? He gets held up for 3 days and 3 nights and he doesn't know what's going on. Then he finally gets released and no charges are filed. And now he's just sitting there going like, I have no idea what just took place. And then it requires other folks like ourselves to help kind of represent that situation, ask the questions, and then be able to give not just him public trust, but everyone around him and in that community. So.
I just wanted to comment on the prosecution side of a federal officer engaged in the course of their duty. There's case law or laws protecting federal agents in the scope from state prosecution. So our office, even if a case or a report is submitted to us, we would refer it to the U.S. Attorney's Office for prosecution. There are federal laws that protect federal agents during the course of their duties from state prosecution, and it's an old case that controls those actions.
I got just one add, because we've had a couple of incidents in Oceanside, and what I would say in the scenario that you were given under SB 54, the person that was arrested that was an American citizen, under SB 54, we wouldn't be allowed to run that person to even verify whether or not they're an American citizen or not, because we don't operate or investigate anything immigration related. We don't participate in it. We're there to keep the peace, and that's it. And that's what we've done. We've had a couple incidents. We get there, keep the peace. The feds do what they do. The law enforcement, no matter how you look at it, we're in a lose-lose situation. We either back up our federal partners when they're being assaulted or stuff being thrown at them. The public looks at it as, well, you're allowing them to kidnap people. They're allowing to do that. We're in a no-win situation. We get called to these, no matter how you look at it. Half the people are going to agree with it. Half the people are going to disagree with it.
That's literally why I'm trying to bring this up. I'm trying to literally bring this up because I can't define the federal immigration law enforcement policies that are taking place right now, but I know who you guys are. And so I know I can defend local policies and all the way up to the Constitution. I know that's what we're doing. And that's what I get nervous about is the optics between the two and actually the convolution between the two, if that makes sense. So that if a perimeter is being set up, and you're basically having to shove protesters, and you've got an incident taking place, and it's in the gray area, or maybe not, or one way or the other, that the optics looks like that our local law enforcement agencies are the ones doing this. It just, the public, that's just how it's going to be perceived. As soon as you're shoving someone and they snap that photo at that perfect point, like perfect timing, right? All of a sudden it's us. And so I teed this up, and I teed up anywhere I can, because I want to make sure that you know that I'm here to make sure that you're protected. But I want to draw on this distinction, because when I ask you questions like this, I get good rational answers. And then as I'm asking anywhere else above, I don't totally get those answers. And sometimes I get pushback. So that's why I just thank you guys for your time. I know it's a bit of exposure to be able to do this, but I don't see this going away. And so I want to just make sure that we're having this dialogue, so that, let's just say incidents take place, that gets a little bit more resonated throughout the county. I mean, we're right by a border, and I mean, we're in a place that's kind of target rich, that we end up making sure that we're doing the right things. We can all look back and say we did the right thing, and we can retire and collect our things the way we should. Any other questions or comments prior to?
Yeah, just as we talk about a duty to report and all the activity that's been taking place, have we had any reports against the federal or ICE folks as they're doing certain things?
In my jurisdiction, we've only had maybe 2 incidents where we've had to respond. And the first one, ICE had already left the area. It was reported to us that there was an assault taking place, but they were gone. The other incident was not a too big of a deal, but I do know that I think the U.S. Attorney's got 4 cases. I'm not sure if there's more of assaults on federal agents, but I haven't seen any. Every time I've asked ICE officials about the details of an arrest, if there's questions from my community, everything's been justified and legitimate. So I haven't had any circumstance in the sheriff's jurisdiction.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you for your time on that one. All right. Our next PSC meeting is scheduled for Friday, October 17th, 2025 at 1 p.m. And we are adjourned at 2:25.